You want to know about Appalachian Folk Magic? Cool. It's complicated. Oh, you want the long explanation? Alright, sit down. This is gonna take a minute. So, like I said, short answer, it's complicated. Longer answer, sources contradict each other. I'm still researching and figuring it out, so cross-reference what I say, double-check the sources linked or listed, and always question everything. Right off the bat, just trying to pin down the where is it part, we're already comparing and contrasting contradictory sources as well as different perspectives. Geographically, the 1965 federal legislation that established the Appalachia Regional Commission ranges from southern New York to northern Mississippi and covers 200,000 square miles. This would be all of West Virginia and parts of Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Maryland, and Virginia. But this isn't what normally comes to mind when people think of Appalachia. For a map to represent what people usually think of, the best I could find is from Southern Appalachian Cooperative Ecosystem Studies Unit. So bear with me here. On this one, we're leaving out New York, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. Now, we can have a discussion about Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania Dutch and if they're in with Appalachian Folk Magic in another video, because there's a bit of crossover and sharing of ideas there. I'll list a couple of sources below for this, but what we see here is the difference between those living in Appalachia and those outside of Appalachia. Those outside would go with the blue line, and those inside more with the red line. From what I gather while researching, this divide has a lot to do with the hard living that comes with mountain life. If you're familiar with that, you're probably going to go with the red line. If you're not, you're probably going to go with the blue line. Okay, that's the where is it part. Sorta. Like I said, complicated. Now, the what is it part. Oh boy. Okay. At first glance, it's a mess is what it is. I'll do my best to link in the sources for this part as well, but bear in mind, I'm still researching, and some of this is coming from growing up in the foothills of North Carolina. So if you're from another region of the Appalachia, things are probably going to be a little different for you. Also, if you're from another region, do a video. Please. I'm begging. We need more rep on here. Anyway, back to what it is. Now this is going to be a quick rundown, not an in-depth one. First, we've got the Scots-Irish settling the Appalachia, while the Cherokee were already there. Not to mention conflict between the Cherokee, Creek, Catawba, and Chickasaw that was happening as well. So the Scots-Irish have their folk traditions they brought with them, but little knowledge of the flora and fauna of the area. The Scottish learned from the Cherokee. Then we have more European settlers coming in, and a good portion being German. That mixes with the Scots-Irish and Cherokee thing already happening. Then, post-slavery, you have various African traditions brought to the area and mixing in as well. I'll put what I can in the description for sources, but I'm researching all this to find exact dates and such, so I don't have many at the moment. If anyone can correct me on this, that would be wonderfully helpful. Right, now we have all this mixing and sharing of folk traditions going on, and what we see happen is, it's not just a religious thing. It's a way of life. It's culture as much as it is anything else. It's simply just how you survive living in the mountains. Now, why is it? Well, the short answer, believe it or not, is Christianity. I'm not joking. If it wasn't for Christianity, I'm not sure how much we'd know about Appalachian folk magic, because it's a hugely oral tradition that even today, getting an interview or just someone to sit and talk to you about it is tough. So how did Christianity help? Well, the Second Great Awakening. It was a Protestant revival movement that swept the U.S. It started in the late 1700s and went until the late 1800s. By the mid-1800s, most of the U.S. had seen effects from it. Appalachia, however, was notoriously difficult terrain, which meant it wasn't until the late 1800s that this movement reached into the mountains. By that time, folk traditions were so much a part of life that people just refused to give them up. So the traditions got folded into their version of Christianity, and today we have charms that include things like Bible verses as part of the working. You're probably wondering who does this. Well, that's, you guessed it, complicated. We've got Christians, Christian witches of lots of flavors, and everyday people that don't know where their quirky little traditions come from. One last thing to cover. Why is it still around? It's as much our culture as it is anything else. Mountain living is hard. Modern day still hasn't reached into every corner of Appalachia. We still have people living in shacks with no indoor plumbing, some by choice, some because they don't have a choice. Life is hard for us. Some of us come off the mountain, but still know how hard it can be. For us, this works. It's who we are. And if anyone thinks they can make us leave it behind, you've never met mountain folk. So, I hope this helps give an idea of where Appalachian folk magic comes from. I'll be breaking it down more in future videos. I didn't want to get too crazy in the first one. Like, share, comment, all that stuff. My Twitter's probably down in the description. And thanks for watching. Now, go help or get out of the way.